What is going on? It's been a long time. We shouldn't have left you. But it's 2025 and
Without
we
a
back like we never left. Tony, Armon, we back at you. Leadership State of Mind. Tony, what's going on, bro?
Yo, man. First of all, apologize to leadership state of my family, bro. Life is real. Me and me and our mom been busy. The holidays happen, and yeah, man, we back. We gonna one of
We back.
2025 goals is consistency, and so we gonna try to get
Yep.
back on the grind and make sure we continue to put out this good data. But yeah, man, I'm good, bro. You know, got my Green Bay gear on, ready for the playoffs tomorrow. And
Yeah.
college football playoffs is cruising. I'm interested to see how you feel about the current state of college football. I know your boys lost, but I
Yeah.
would say that, man, the holidays was good. Time to recharge the batteries. I always look at the holidays as one of my favorite times. It gives me an opportunity to kind of reflect on the year. Look through
Yep.
the goals that I put in place and see what things I reached and what things I didn't, and figure out, kind of regroup and come up with new goals for 2025, and communicate that to the wife. If you guys been following on Instagram, I've been talking about like coming up with that one audacious goal to strive for greatness. And so I like to start the year fresh. Did my first ever fast, and been eating clean, and my goal was to not drive the car to work. So I've been biking to and from work every day, and
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm feeling good, man. I'm trying to be in the right headspace in 2025. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you talked about the Bulldogs, I think, and we've talked about it a lot on this podcast, and you just brought it up. But consistency was the key. Sometimes they looked at the best team on earth. Other times they look like a seller team in some long forgotten conference. So
Yeah,
getting those things balanced and being the best version of themselves at the right time, that was not available for the Bulldogs. It didn't help that they lost their quarterback, but I don't know how much of a factor he actually was, because getting that new quarterback in there, I think he's actually pretty darn good. So there's
yeah,
always optimism for the next season. But I think college football has as much parity as it's ever had. I
I
think
agree
some
with
of
that.
the just seeing Notre Dame kind of go through this thing, and NIL and the transfer portal is almost evening out the playing field, because it seems like these teams like Georgia, Alabama don't have five stars just on the bench, just hanging out, waiting till their junior year to pop off. Now they're looking for an
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity to come play for real.
I believe wholeheartedly that's why Saban bowed out. Like, he left while he was on top. Like, he didn't want that. He didn't want to mess with that.
Yeah, I think he saw the inevitability, the writing on the wall with that,
Mm-hmm.
because
For sure.
when you have like, for example, Georgia's quarterback, he's riding a Lamborghini, bro. Has a
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's
What are you
crazy.
gonna tell somebody that makes millions?
I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. I mean, it's good. I
So it
mean, we talked
has to
about it.
be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, we've, for years we talked about, like, I mean, names not on the back of, jerseys, and not being able to make money, and these college kids just, college is making millions and millions and millions of dollars, and players just, trying to get some pizza from the from the food
Yeah,
store or
man.
whatever. So I mean, I almost think the pendulum swung a little bit too far, as things do sometimes,
Yep,
but
that's exactly what I was
um
thinking.
yeah, but I mean, it's certainly good that they're, not struggling. And then you see the stories about, like, the Travis Hunter kid who, like, never touched his NIL money from Colorado because he was making so much other money, and was, like, paying other people with his NIL money to make sure that they were good. Like, if there's stories like that out there, I think there's a lot of greatness to it. But
Yeah,
yeah, man, I for me, I think Nick Saban like had a model, knew what to do, had the process, and he saw all this and was like, "Nah, I'm good. I think I'm just gonna dip. Like I'm gonna just leave on top. I'm good with it." So
Yeah, I mean, because I think it's going to require a significant evolution. And watching at least SEC football and watching Alabama and Saban from afar, they've had to evolve a couple of times along the way. And I think this last, kind of this last change, this last evolution, it was like, you know what? I'm in my 70s. I've I've done exactly what I came here to do. You know what? I'm good. I'm good. I'm gonna go here, be
yeah,
on TV and kill it. Go back home to the wife. Go fishing. I don't have to worry about this recruiting. None of this NIL. I'm straight.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if I was him and I had the success I had and I was his age, I would have been. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'm out.
It's been real. It's been real. It's been real. But other than that, man, family, we've traveled a lot. We went to Washington State. Got to hang out with the grandkids. That was awesome. Spent Christmas with them. Then flew to Atlanta to surprise my mom and have a birthday party for her. So we've been all over the place. And then because personally I've shifted more so from a consumer during Christmas, to more of running a business during Christmas. That has been all
Yeah.
encompassing.
Mm-hmm.
Running tenacity during this time frame has been some of the busiest times of my life. So trying to get things together to do this has been pretty darn hard. Because that has been all encompassing. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot for the last few months.
Yeah, man. Well, again, can't complain about success. So, I'm glad things is working out, but I
Yeah,
get it, man.
exactly.
It's,
Yep.
it's it's good to have time with family. I mean, I saw you, I was following the accolades of you traveling around the world. So glad you got to
Yeah.
see everyone and came back. And now we here. Now we here.
Now
Getting
we're here.
ready to drop some knowledge on this podcast.
But as always, it was all good. And we say just a week ago, but a month ago, do we have this shifted?
Yeah. Yeah. It was all good just a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was having a conversation with someone at work the other day, and I guess my little talking point for this week is, man, like as a leader, you got to choose which hill you're willing to die on.
Yeah.
You know, standing up for your people is important, and showing them that you have your back is important, but make sure it is something that is worth it. Because if your guy is wrong, guy or girl is wrong, and like it just makes you look really silly. It makes you look bad. If you are like, because at the end of the day, like if you're the overall guy in charge of the mission, the job, holding people accountable, the standards, all those things. If you die on the wrong hill, man, like it's a bad look. And so I would just tell
Yeah.
you, like, there's a difference between supporting your people and having your people's back, than putting yourself in a bad situation in which you and your team look silly because you decide that this is the mountain you want to put your flag into. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Uh, Especially if it's steeped, if that desire to die on that hill is steeped in
Yeah,
self. It's because it's something that
sure.
you want, and you let your ego tell you this story that is not conducive for the team or for everybody else. So you gotta move yourself out of the center. You gotta move yourself. You are not the main character. I tell you, leaders, we are not the main character.
Yep.
But when we get into that place where we want to die on that hill, it's very easy for us to put ourselves in the center. So yeah, so I am one of those people too that are willing to die on said hills and have
Sure.
died on said hills.
Hmm.
So I think we can speak with a level of knowledge and certainty of please apply some perspective and make sure you take a minute to step back and think first. Take a breath and consider the full perspective before this is the hill that you want to go
Yeah.
down. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that, bro. Absolutely.
Hey, man, and listen, there might be a hill, and it might be the right hill. So just
Might be the
my
real.
point
Yep.
is, my point is, just make sure if you think maybe it's the wrong hill, maybe you should ask someone else, but don't make yourself look silly, man.
Yep. Absolutely.
What about you? It was all good just a month ago. What happened?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will be transparent with the leadership state of mind family here. The thoughts in my head and consideration for retirement are getting louder and louder and louder and louder.
Mm-hmm.
And as I continue to try to fight the good fight of leadership and try to meet mediocrity head on, there's some people, there's some things that are entrenched that do not want to change. And I have tried to push those efforts. And I'm recognizing now that it may be time to go ahead and off ramp, in this Joker, because there's some things that have been said about me, and this leads right into it was all good just a week ago, but you can't always control your narrative
Yeah.
as
Mm-hmm.
much as you want to try, as much as you want to get out in front of things, as much as you want to combat somebody saying something about you, or sometimes those things get out of your control. They get out of your ability to get in front of, and it's just out there. And as much as you want to dispel it, as much as you want to go meet those things head on, sometimes you don't even know what's going on. You don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
And then next thing you
Mm-hmm.
know, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 25th hand, it finally comes back to you that these things were said, or this thing, was portrayed in a certain way. And now you can't do anything about it. But the key is it doesn't really matter. Because if you in this for the likes and you in this for the accolades, then that will matter. That will count.
Sure.
That will drive you into a negative place. But if you're in this because you want to see X, Y, and Z, you want to see this person be successful, you want to see this team win, you want to see somebody who had been previously counted out, and you want to put all of your knowledge, all of the things that you have, into this person, to this team to help them be better because it's not about you, then none of that stuff will matter because you're now controlling what you can control. And this is something that I had to reflect on. It's something I had to meditate on. What am I in this game for? Am I in this game for, to ascend, to move up, to get to the next place? Or am I in this to help the people that I have the privilege of leading get to the next place of their own lives, be the best version of themselves? That's what matters. Yeah. And once I took that couple of minutes to realign and recognize, even though these things may be being said, I have nothing to do with that narrative. They can say whatever they want to. Because right here, I'm doing all I can to make sure that the people that I have the privilege of leading are coming up in the best possible environment that I have a hand in cultivating. So, can't always control your narrative, but keep your mind focused on the things that are important that you can control. So,
yeah, I think, as people that want to do well and want to put their best foot forward all the time, I think sometimes that's really hard to swallow, right? That you can't get in front of enough people to control the narrative and control people's opinion. I will say it is a freeing feeling when you just, not that you don't care about your job or care about what people care about, like it just becomes this moment where like you no longer care about any of that. Like you're like, oh, okay, cool, man. Yeah, like that's their opinion. But the people that I lead, the people that I serve, you ask them what they think about me, and that's what really matters.
exactly.
And so,
Exactly.
yeah, man, I understand that. I will tell you, my previous job, I was there. I was like, man, like if this is what it is and this is just the opinion of me, then it's gonna be okay. Cause I know when people ask what I've done for them and what I'm all about, I know they'll get the truth. But yeah, man, it's still hard
Exactly.
to swallow for sure. So
Yeah.
definitely a
Yeah.
good conversation. I also think that, again, I feel like somehow you find a way to, look at my quotes and check out my bars, because it's wild how that all aligns with some of the stuff I'm about to say next. So that's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But as we go on to the next topic, the blueprint. What we reading right now,
Yeah.
man? What you reading?
Yeah. So the most impactful thing, and I read a couple of things during this kind of time away, but probably the most impactful thing that I read was Front Burner by Keith, the former CEO of the USS Cole. I think it's Keith Lippold, Leipold, or
Hmm.
something like that. But he tells a story from his perspective, of the USS Cole and his leadership failures along the way, the Navy's leadership failures along the way, the lack of support afterwards, the vitriol afterwards, um, and some of the personal things that he had to go through, where people took personal shots at him along the way. And it's a fantastic story. Whatever you think you know about what
Wow.
happened with the USS Cole, you probably don't know. You probably just get because if you just get the headlines or what you remember occurring, he tells a fantastic story of how he messed up. Like, it wasn't this one-sided thing where he was, well, I did all the things right and in the Navy. No, 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 no. The level of self-awareness, emotional
Sure.
intelligence that he applied in telling the story makes it for a compelling story, and it really gives some insights into the holes that exist within the largeness of organizations and why leadership is so important. And we can never assume that just because somebody has a level of rank that they have the commensurate level of leadership. But it's a
Sure.
fantastic read, bro.
Okay. Definitely add that to the list. Yeah, man. So, update for me. I finished Ready Player One. And that's a long book, man. That was a lot.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
but it was great. Then I was just mad about, but then I was just mad about the movie. Honestly,
The
like
movie.
they didn't get any of any. Like, I still like the movie, but like, why couldn't they make the gates and like the keys more aligned with what the book was? Why were they so far off? I had so many questions, but I did what I said I was gonna do. I stepped out of, the normal books that I read, and read Ready Player One. It's pretty good. I'm back onto my normal schedule, and right now I'm reading. Right now, I think you know how they say that sometimes just the right time in the right place, like books resonate when you're in the right place to receive it. I'm reading Ryan Holiday just dropped Stillness is Key. And this is something that I would say people like me and you need to read. Uh when we have
Yeah.
this, like, when we just can't stop moving and it's never enough and we always want to try to get better and this and this and that. Um, he's certainly not telling you to like be average and settle. He's just telling you to like take a step back and be like, man, like I've accomplished a lot. Like, let me be appreciative for where I am. Like, let me acknowledge the accomplishments and the things that I've done, and like be aware of my surroundings. And it's a very insightful book. I really like some of the examples and the stories that he tells. Although I mean, I'm a fan, right? So most of
Yeah.
his projects I enjoy. But yeah, dope book. Definitely enjoying it, and that's kind of what I'm reading right now.
That's dope. I haven't read Stillness is the Key. Fun fact, I have it. I've had it for a little while now, and I haven't read it yet.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, man, it's
that
good.
might be a
I like
message,
it.
and then you go ahead and read that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I felt like as I was reading, I was like, man, I need this right now. I just gotta slow
Yeah.
down a little bit, take a breath. Uh, but yeah, man. So, what bars you got this week, man? What type of fire you spitting? Let me hear something.
Yeah. Yeah, this was from a person by the name of Lin Yutang. I don't know what they do. I don't know where they at, but what they said was very fitting for me at the time. So it says that the secret of contentment is knowing how to enjoy what you have and to lose all desire for what you have not. And I thought it was very fitting just because of the holiday season
Mm-hmm.
and talking to my girls about wanting things and things and things and things for to what end? To what end? What is the end goal? What is the point? So having these very deep and philosophical conversations with my girls to help them understand the language of capitalism in this country is to consume and gain more and more and more and more, but it's empty,
Yeah.
it's hollow, it's never fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
It's about being content, because the things won't fill the hole. The things won't fulfill you. So the secret of contentment is knowing how to enjoy what you have and to lose all desire for what you have not. So that's my bars for
Yeah,
the week.
man. Oh, I love it. I love it. I gotta give you, you made that whole comment about talking to the kids, man. I gotta tell you this happy moment for me. Uh, took the
Yeah,
kids to Big Island, and we was gonna do this manta ray, this nighttime like swim with the manta rays, and it's not cheap. And my oldest was the only one that we were gonna bring, and we were like, hey, do you want things? You want some more? Like, what would you rather have? Some more things from your Christmas list, or do this thing and like have like a memory? And he's like, nah, I'd rather go do the thing. And I was like, man, that's cool. Like, keep that mindset. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, it was like a happy moment for me.
yeah,
Because at 9 years old, I
yeah,
feel like a lot of people would be like, give me the right now. Give me the
yeah.
things. But so it was cool that he was wanted to do the excursion. And I think it's a core memory. I'm pretty sure if you've seen Inside Out, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure like a little island popped up
Yeah.
out there. He had a good time. So that's cool, man. All right, man. My bars go very much aligned with what you were saying. The less energy we waste regretting the past or worrying about the future, the more energy we will have for what is in front of us and what really matters. And that's from Ryan Holiday in his book. And honestly, man, there's a lot of bangers in that book. There's a lot of quotes. I
Yeah,
told you I was going back and forth between that one and the other one that he said where he was talking about conserving energy, and he said like
yeah,
when you can why stand when you can sit, why lay down when you have the opportunity to instead of sit lay down, like look for opportunities to conserve energy because when you need the energy you have it there. But I mean he's just got a lot of things that all have to do with that stillness concept, but you read
yeah,
that and you're just like, we've talked about it on this show. When your brain is incredible and it can be used for amazing things, but if you spend time regretting and worrying and making assumptions and doing all this stuff, the science is there that it will drain you. It will physically and mentally drain you of all your energy and all the things you have. And when you get caught in that axle of worrying about the stuff you can't control, the things that already happened, man, you can't be the best version of yourself and you can't lead the people around you to the best of your ability because you don't have the energy that you should because you worry about things you're not. And so, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, but hearing that was my bar for the week. That's what kind of stuck out to me.
yeah, man. That's dope, man. I think that the mush that we have here between our two ears, um, science tells us that between 40 and 50% of our energy expenditure comes from just thinking.
Yep.
Imagine that from this little, this mush
Yeah.
that's between our ears. 40%, 40 to 50% of our energy expenditure. Not running, not walking, not muscle contraction, none of that stuff. But from thinking. So it's important that we are mindful of this. The problem is that we're not a video game, so we don't have like an indicator like above our heads telling
How
us
much energy we
that
got left?
how much energy we've expended towards thinking about things that don't matter, thinking about our past, thinking about things, people who have potentially wronged us or whatever the case may be, it's like you are expending double amount of the energy based on what you're currently pondering. You should stop. Think about something good. Think about your future in a positive way. What, get some kind of thing in your ear, whatever. But we have to be intentional about it. We got to be intentional about it and snap ourselves back when we get into that place where we're thinking about those things that don't matter. So,
yeah, man,
that's good, bro.
So, 99 problems, but
So
leadership ain't one.
What about it? What about it? 99 problems? Man,
what's your tip of the week?
Do not allow the unhealed version of yourself to become your spokesperson. Do not allow the unhealed version of yourself to become your spokesperson. Here's why I say that. With all the things that I've gone through personally in this organization, in and out of the organization, some of those things that I've done were trauma responses. Somebody said this, somebody put me in this situation, having to overcome, somebody doubted me, therefore I assumed this persona as a result of the environment that I'm in, as a result of the leadership that I've had. Some of those versions of myself were trying to accommodate normal reality, right? Yep. They were trying to, hey, I don't have the necessary tools, to deal with what's going on. So I'm going to generate a version of myself that's going to try to cope in these scenarios. Those versions of myself early on, and even as I've continued to serve, those are unhealed versions of myself. The insecure version of myself when I'm questioning whether or not I should be in a room when there's so many senior people, so many, smart people or whatever the case may be. Why am I in this room? Yeah. I can't allow that insecure version of myself to speak for who I am, because that's not who I am. The angry version of myself when, somebody has said something, somebody has done something, and I allow that, to overcompensate for what's going on in my life, and I lash out. I can't allow that version of myself to be my spokesman, because that is not the truth. That doesn't represent reality. It doesn't represent who I actually am. So we have to be mindful about that. Recognize the unhealed versions of ourselves as we're continually working on ourselves, but don't allow that version of yourself to come up and start to speak for you.
That's deep. I mean, we could do a podcast on that. I call it my filters. I call it my I say I've built filters within myself to not allow that anger or some of the feelings that I have to come out. But yeah, man, that's deep, man. I mean, there's just, the thing is that when you allow those things to happen, you end up painting yourself in a light that's not accurate and doesn't depict who you really are.
Yep.
So, yeah, man, that's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man, my tip of the week, bro. Don't let people define your ceiling, and do not allow yourself to be boxed in and told what you can and can't do and what is possible. That's it. I've been writing a lot. I've been writing a lot recently, really trying to paint a good picture of, what ethical development is, and just as I continue to watch people around you and around me, and getting in conversations, like I'm at a place now where no one can define what I can and can't do. But I was not always in a place where where other people's opinions and other people's thoughts would make me doubt what I'm capable of doing, and the direction in which I want to go. And I will just tell you, if you get to a place where you do not allow people to define those goals, if you break yourself free of the matrix and realize all that stuff is fake, and that you have sole control about the things you want to accomplish, I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty amazing feeling. And it comes and goes, right? You don't always have it, right? Because certain people can put you back in that box. But if you can continue to think to yourself like, nah, man, like no one is going to define me, and what I'm capable of in the direction I want to go. I think that there's a feeling of freeness with that. And I think it's something that we should all strive for.
I love that. I love every bit of that.
Okay.
I gotta tell you, I don't feel like it needs any further illumination because it shines on its own. I love that, brother. Absolutely.
Appreciate you, man.
Man, you should say it again for the people just in case they missed it.
If you missed it, don't allow other people to define your ceiling. Do not allow yourself to be boxed in and told what is not possible. That's it, man. Know yourself.
Yeah.
Believe in yourself. Know what you're capable of, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, I think it's about time we get into what we came here for, to talk about the subject at hand. Hey, check it out. In every mission, everything that we go through, everything that we're striving for, there is an adversary, a challenge, a problem, an obstacle standing between us, you, and success. Yet more often than not, teams fail because of not because of the real adversary, not because of that challenge, that obstacle, that that thing that we're going towards, but because we, in our infinite knowledge as human beings, we have to create a new one. We've confused the target, and worse, the new enemy is often ourselves, or the person that is across the table, that is down the hall, that is upstairs, whatever the case may be. And here's how it happens: because something that someone pushes our emotional buttons, a sideways comment in a meeting, a perceived slight, or whatever the case may be, a decision that you may feel is personal. And suddenly you're not thinking about the mission anymore. You're thinking about them, thinking about what was said, what was done. Your focus shifts, your energy shifts, and you start defending your ego instead of achieving the objective. And without realizing it, you've turned an ally into an enemy and traded clarity for chaos. I call this confusing the adversary. It's when the mission becomes secondary to your emotional response to a threat, most often perceived. Keep this in mind while we're talking. Most often perceived is a betrayal of focus and is deadly to a team, no matter how big or how small. It doesn't matter if the organization is thousands or the organization is hundreds. It is detrimental, to the team to confuse, the adversary. The truth is, the mission does not care about your feelings. The goals that we're trying to accomplish, they don't care about our feelings. Our feelings are irrelevant in consideration for what the primary goal is. So the objective remains the same, whether your pride is bruised or not. Sometimes you got to come to work hurt. Sometimes you got to do stuff mad, right? But here's the kicker: that perceived threat is never, never, never as big as we think. 9 times out of 10, the enemy isn't the person across the table. It's our inability to separate the personal from the professional. Now, I've dealt with this numerous occasions because guess what? I wasn't always this polished, mature leader that you have in front of you that can see things with perspective. No. If somebody said that they thought that Run DMC was better than the Tribe Called Quest, I don't like you anymore. And I don't like you. I don't like your mama, your grandmama, what you stood for, your house. Why you eating that kind of cheese? Taking it personal. Now that's tongue in cheek, laughing a little bit, but it can be detrimental to your team. So as you're thinking about, because for me, I would tell you, I think that this is the biggest detractor in team cohesion and job accomplishment that we have to deal with. I think at some point we've all found ourselves in a situation where we took things personal and we allowed it to detract our focus, to detract our energy, to detract what was important. This is just me speaking, Tony. What you think? Have you had any instances or any thoughts about confusing the adversary?
100%. Yeah, I mean, so when we talked about this topic, one thing came to mind. First, I want to start by saying that in every podcast, in some form or fashion, the 4 agreements gets brought up, right? I mean, if you haven't read the 4 agreements yet, That's also, by the way, on my reading list for the month of January. I read it every January. Align yourself, be impeccable with your words. Don't take things personal. Don't make assumptions, and do your best every day. And, again, we talking about people just taking stuff personal and confusing the adversary. And so, yeah, man, I'll tell you that this next story is where the hate list came from. For y'all that caught the last episode, I have my hate list that I like to build. That is how I, when I don't like what the next guy is doing, or the person above me and the job that I'm looking and striving to get to next, I write myself a hate list. All the things that I don't like that they do, and I'd come up with a plan on how I'm gonna make it better. But before
Yeah.
I got to that point, man, I was dealing with a what do you want to call it? A command that was above the submarine. Let's call it an ISIC, and they are the people that are supposed to be our biggest supporters and help us get ready for deployment. And man, we just didn't feel supported by them, felt slighted by them, uh, and it was creating a toxic environment on the boat. It was creating an us versus them. Me and my boss were, frustrated at times. Although that's still, let him put his own words on it. I was frustrated, and other people on the boat were frustrated. And when everyone sees that, then they kind of jump on board, right? Because they're going to follow the leaders. And what it really started to do is just become like unproductive. Like,
Yeah.
when I took a step back and I was like, what are we gaining here? If our mission is to get ready for deployment and make sure we have the boat, the best submarine that's ready to handle all missions and doing all that stuff, like, what am I doing, and what is the benefit of confusing the adversary and being worried about what these people are not doing and how I feel slighted in any type of way? And so that aha moment is where the hate list came from, right? Because when I felt slighted or when I was frustrated, I would write it and add it to the list and determine how I was going to do things differently when it was my turn, and turn that frustration into a way to be better, but also to keep me aligned on what the real mission was. So, I mean, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you might not be in charge of a submarine, but the context is the same, right? You have a job. You're trying to make sales goal. You're trying to build this house. You're trying to flip this house. You're trying to sell something, whatever it is. Where are you wasting energy on the wrong adversary instead of focusing on the mission? And if we can get to a place as we continue to talk through this podcast where we can acknowledge when that's happening and have that like moment of clarity where we take a step back and not allow ourselves to get wrapped up into that stuff, and to keep our teams aligned and focused on the right thing, I think that you will find a more motivated team and a more focused team, because you are keeping them aligned on what the mission is. And that's your job. And I
Yeah.
think, to O's point, I'm not gonna say I'm as polished as my counterpart over there, but I think I'm pretty polished at times. I think I have some times
Yes.
where I'm pretty polished,
Yes.
but there's certainly been times in which my team is gonna follow my energy and my vibe. And so if they're gonna follow me, that they gonna follow me up and they gonna follow me down. And so I need to make sure that I'm not sending them down the wrong path and teaching them the wrong way to lead, and making sure I'm keeping them aligned and focused on what matters. So that's the story. I think that's pretty relevant to what you were talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had we both had the same ISIC in different times, and the attitude was the same. And I will tell you, I
Yeah.
had plenty of opportunities in my role as chief of the boat, dealing with the ISIC, to rise above, to take the high road. Um, and most often, I took the opportunity to be petty and completely
Yeah.
detract from the focus of the team. And
Yep.
I talk about this all the time with my chiefs, especially those that are qualifying, going to qualify CMC, you're going to qualify Cobb. I told them, I said, it's an unknown of what that relationship is going to be like. But what you can't do
Yeah.
is take vital energy, because it's a finite resource. Our energy is a finite resource. We will run out. Talk
Yep.
about burnout all the time. But if you're going to take
Yep.
a major part of your energy and focus towards being petty or getting back at somebody because of a assumed
Mm-hmm.
slight, because they're not doing what you thought they should be doing, rather than putting that energy towards making your team better, the outcome that you have hoped for is going to fall short. It's
Yep.
going to fall short.
Absolutely.
And you think that, oh, I can be petty, I can get this get back, it's not going to matter. No, it's going to matter. But it
Yeah.
could be not just a cause and effect relationship. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, steps down the line, as a result of a junior sailor seeing somebody that you lead, seeing how you responded, to this situation. Now they think, because they want to emulate you, oh, this is how you handle this. This is how,
Yep.
if somebody come at you, right, go be petty. So they assume that
Yep.
same role. So when they become a leader and they have these interactions, guess what they do? They further
The same thing.
perpetuate this confusion of the
Yep.
adversary, and it just makes us, it gives us more blind spots in our ability to do business the right way.
Mm-hmm.
It removes the synergistic performance possibility, right? Because imagine if you got 100% of everybody's energy going in the right direction, what
Yeah.
can you get accomplished? Meanwhile,
Anything.
meanwhile,
Yeah.
meanwhile, I, as a leader, I put myself as the main character, chose to be petty in that moment. Now I'm
Yep.
causing a situation where leaders who are coming up behind me think that's okay, and we're further confusing the adversary when we have a very real, adversary, very real commander's intent to carry out. So it is important for us to really reflect, and that is my hope with this podcast, to kind of step outside this. My hope with this whole podcast is that you are reflecting on the things that we're talking about, that you see
Sure.
yourself in some of our failures, and some of the things that we've done along the way, and our successes and our failures, because there's learning in both. But in this case, talking about confusing the adversary, that you may see yourself in some of these situations where you may have taken some things personally. You may have seen some infighting in your team that is not based in reality whatsoever, and you
Yeah.
can see it, combat it, and address it in the proper ways. And we're going to talk about how to address that confusing, the adversary, because one of the things, Tony, you talked about, and it brought up a great point with regards to, the generation of time that we live in, with regards to person,
Mm-hmm.
communication. You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. I just think, I've said this before on this show, like a lot of people don't like having uncomfortable conversations. And so, when you're dealing with the new generation, um, they would rather like text you about a slight or straight ghost you and never even talk about it, right? Like they might just completely write
Yeah.
you off. So where me and you, I used to tell people like, if you that whole like Batman speech, man, where he talked about like you've only adapted the dark. I grew up in the dark. You're like, man,
Yeah.
like don't try to verbally attack me, bro. Like, do you know like I will rip your jugular out. But man, that's so unhealthy. Like the things, and that whole process was, but it was just how we grew up, and
Yeah.
we would take things personal and we would snap back, and we had jokes and crack and just mess with people and didn't allow people to slight us in any way. No, now this generation, first of all, is not equipped to deal with that the same, and also doesn't want to, right? And so, you just got to be careful in that situation. Like, you said it. You said like in most of these situations where people feel slighted, and you're confusing the adversary, um, it's probably a lack of communication or a misunderstanding than it is an actual attack on you. And
Yep.
so, if we're trying to build great teams and we're trying to accomplish great things, then man, like, you can't allow a miscommunication or something perceived the wrong way to affect you to that level where now your energy is focused on the wrong thing. A lot of people have good intentions but bad
Yep.
delivery. A lot.
Yep.
Right? Not everyone is impeccable with their words. Some people don't think before they speak, and they say something and they might not mean it the way they said it, but they lack the skill set to communicate it the right way. And so now, because they're not talented enough to say it the right way, you spend a week mad and frustrated and plotting revenge. Meanwhile, they wasn't trying to say nothing near that. And like, I think that's really the point, is that, like, if you are in this environment and you have all these people that you serve and you're trying to build this culture and have the right attitude and the right people and the energy pushing in the same direction, if you can't get your hands on making sure that everyone is aligned and pushing in the same direction, you're going to be working at an organization where people are going 100 different directions and everyone's frustrated and mad at somebody. And that is not going to lead to long-term success.
Absolutely. I think about sports in these leadership contexts, especially in this moment, because especially I talk about the team. So I remember, the Philadelphia Eagles at the early 2000s, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I think collectively everybody kind of hated the New England Patriots for the run that they were on. So they were looking for somebody to kind of slay Goliath. And that team came online. You got Andy Reid, and Donovan McNabb, you got T.O., you got this awesome defense. And you got a team on paper that looks like a formidable adversary here. Like, they're going to come together, and kind of slay the giant. But then you see at the end that after four consecutive NFC championship games, I think they won 3 or won 4. I think they may have won all 4 of those, but they never could get over the hump. They never could get, the championship. And then years later, you start to see why. Because the infighting between the leaders, the most influential leaders on the team are distracting from, hey, what's our goal? Our goal is to get these rings, right? Our goal is to get we kind of at win, the end to be the last team standing. But we so upset because T.O. is doing sit-ups in his driveway or requesting the ball or not getting the ball on time or whatever the case may be, and they just have these personality clashes that really hinder their ability to really finish the drill and get over that hump. And there's so many teams like that we kind of hear later on that, man, I thought they were going to be, quote unquote, the dream team. They brought all these personalities together, brought all this talent together that seemingly would be no question for the championship or for top shelf performance. But something happens inside between the leaders, between the players, between the team, that takes that energy, what could be all focused towards winning, gets distracted, it gets diffused, and now instead of laser-like focus, we got focus like a regular light bulb out here that's just out here expending energy, and that's not going to get anything done, not in any real tangible way. So when I think about that, those teams and how they respond to those challenges, if it's the leaders that are the ones that are confusing the adversary, you got no chance.
Yeah.
There's very little that you can do when it's the leader, because it requires the leaders to be egoless and engaged to really see through that mask, to see through that illusion, to really focus forward and get back into commander's intent or get back into the goal.
Yeah. Yeah, man. As you're giving that sports analogy, I immediately thought of Shaq and Kobe. Like I like that's where I went. I mean, like that's a great
That's
example,
it.
right? Now they
Yes.
had the Zen
Perfect.
master, right? Like they had Phil. And as people, people say, "Oh man, it must be easy to be Phil because you had Jordan and Kobe." Like his ability to get those teams to win and get the right mindset is amazing. But at the end of the day, like Shaq and Kobe, you saw the interviews afterwards. If they could have figured that
Yeah.
out, I mean, who knows what they would have done, right? But they
Yeah.
certainly confused the adversary. So that was you started talking about
They
Philly, and
probably
I
would
was
have
like,
won.
man,
They
this is a
probably would have
Shaq
won
Kobe
4 or 5.
conversation. I mean, yes, yes. So then I wouldn't have to hear all this LeBron GOAT stuff. Golly. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
uh, so, so the other thing I want to say, like, because I know we're gonna bounce around a little bit on this topic, but I don't want everyone to think to make my organization successful. Everyone has to agree, and everything's got to be this kumbaya, and like I can never disagree or have frustration towards someone else. Like, man, that's not real. You know, I
That's
I
not.
think friction and constructive criticism is the only way to be great. Holding
Yep.
each other accountable, having uncomfortable conversations, all of those things are needed. But the other half of that is setting the expectations. Like if I'm in charge of an organization and I want to make sure that we don't confuse the adversary and I want to make sure that we're building a dynamic team. Hey, listen, as you continue to start at this new job or you are being integrated into this team, I want to let you know this is a team that is high on standards and holding people accountable. So you might get called out if you're not hitting the mark. Don't take it personal. It's not personal, it's just business. Like we're here to push each other to be better and to call each other out and strive to grow. And that's going to require, and that will create growth. But in the process, if you aren't aware that that's going to happen, people can take that personal. So I think sometimes in these situations, it's when you're at a high functioning organization that believes in accountability and that is good with these uncomfortable conversations, but then you bring a new influx of people in, and if you're not setting those clear expectations that this is how things operate, I think people feel slighted and take things personal. And then the worker bees and the ones at other levels now feel like their adversary is them, right? And then that
Yes.
takes away from the mission, right? These guys are out to get me, they don't respect me, they don't appreciate me. And then it's like you versus them, and now like you're in this situation where you can't win. And so in a lot of time conversations, I talk about the importance of expectations, and I think this is an example. Hey, we want to be great here, but to be great, that requires us to hold each other accountable and call each other out and do the things. And that doesn't mean that we don't respect you. It just means that we want you to do better, and I want you to do the same to me. Does that make sense? I mean,
That
it's
makes
kind of
perfect.
different, but I feel
Absolutely.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Absolutely. I mean, because um,
all right,
I gotta tell you, I don't think there is a company, a military organization that has had a level of sustained success
yeah,
that does not have some level of conflict.
yeah,
It
has to be.
has to
It's got to
exist.
be.
It has to exist. There has to be
Yeah,
some level of conflict, but it is not personal. It is professional. Like don't take it
yeah.
personal,
I
take it
mean,
professional.
because there you go. Because if you have a bunch of yes men, then like you can't be great. You know what I mean? Like you have to
No.
have people that push back. You want people that push back.
Yeah, because
So
it's the creative the creativeness, uh the innovation that comes out of struggle, that comes out of conflict because
yeah,
there's an idea and somebody says, "Hey, I don't think this is a fully fleshed version of this idea." They keep striving, they keep striving, they keep striving, and now at the end, because they did not settle, a little bit of conflict, right? Because they did not settle, now they have this glorious thing that is a million times better than what they started with. right?
Yep.
I mean, you think about just the simple. Think about nature, because I always go back to nature, right? You think about
Mm-hmm.
the caterpillar and the butterfly.
Yep.
The caterpillar never becomes the butterfly without the struggle to get out of the
Sure.
chrysalis.
Yep.
There is an absolute struggle, right, to
Yep.
get out of that, to put, to get through that. So the struggle, the conflict, the friction, it is a necessary portion. But when we get into a personal level and egos get involved, that's when the confusion of the adversary begins, instead of keeping it professional over here.
Mm-hmm.
So for you,
Yeah.
like,
You said something.
go
No, go
ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was thinking about, as we fight this fight of making sure that us ourselves as the leaders, don't confuse the adversary, and our teammates, don't get into a place where they're confusing the adversary. What are some of the things that we can do to make sure that happens, or that doesn't happen, or stop it if it has already occurred?
Yeah. So I think one of them is expectations. Like I said, man, I
Yep.
think if you're gonna walk into a company that's successful and doing things the right way, like you have to let your teammates know what the standard is and what the expectation is within the organization, right? Expectations allow people to feel a lot more comfortable when you know it's coming. I think the other part is not falling victim to the term that I would like you to go into more details with. Don't be emotionally hijacked.
Yeah.
I think we can get back to that, but bottom line is, you need, as a leader, you need to make sure your team's not getting emotionally hijacked. And I don't know. Go ahead. You know what? Explain it now for the people. Explain it. Emotional
Yeah.
hijacking.
I mean, yeah. I mean, so back in the day, there used to be all these movies, these alien movies, where the aliens
Mhm.
would come in and inhabit the bodies of the humans. Um, our emotions, do the exact same thing. They inhabit our normally reasonable, thoughtful bodies and turn us into agents for them. So if you consider anger to be an
Yep.
alien, right? When we get angry, that angry alien essentially comes and inhabits our body, and we see everything through the version, through the version of anger that anger wants us to see, right? It does not want us to be reasonable. It does not want us to see what things with perspective. It wants us to continue to perpetuate that anger. So we're going to continue to see things in anger. So we have to recognize that when that emotion comes, the emotion in and of itself is not wrong. It's the sustained
Yeah.
attachment to that emotion, to that anger, to that frustration, to that apathy. It's the sustained attachment to it that allows that emotion now to embody us and to encompass who we are. And now we only see through anger. We only see through these emotions. And that's not truth. It's not truth. It's telling us a story
Yeah.
so it can stay in control. That anger is only telling us a story so you can stay angry. That frustration is only telling you a story so you can stay frustrated. That's not truth. So anything that person does, or anything that any interaction is going to be perceived through that emotion that has hijacked you. Right? So we have to cut that connection off. Allow that emotion to go through us. Why am I angry? Why am I angry about what this person did? Why am I angry about what they
Yep.
said? I perceived it to be this way. How about we just go get the truth?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yep.
hey man, can we have a conversation? Hey, can we talk?
Yep.
Hey, in the meeting, you said X, Y, and Z, and I just want to get some clarification on that. Because I heard it this way. Oh, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no. What I was meaning was, now you got the full context. Now you got the full context, and you understand that sometimes, going back exactly what to Tony brought up previously, sometimes people are just not as adept in relaying the message. They have great
Yeah.
intentions,
Yep.
but their words just don't align all necessarily with how we see things. So just be willing to have a conversation. Be willing to have that conversation, because why waste time just guessing and assuming? And it's just going to further take you into this abyss of confusing adversaries. So
Yeah, man, I love that. So, I think setting expectations, not allowing your team to get emotionally hijacked, and knowing when to when to pull the reins back and when to call people out on it. Be like, hey man, like we ain't got time for that. This ain't the place to be.
Yep.
I think that's really important. I also think just constant alignment, right? Getting in front of your team, making sure they're focused on the right thing. And also knowing your people.
Yep.
If you see someone that's normally in a good mood and normally has a good response, and you see them frustrated or something off, man, like, dig into that and figure out what the why is, because maybe they're spinning and frustrated about something that is not helpful towards the mission. So, those are a couple
Yeah.
things that I would certainly do to make sure that I'm keeping the team focused on the right thing and not confusing the adversary.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, it's a tough thing to combat. It's a tough thing to deal with. But Tony perfectly laid out, how to really attack this and how, to refocus and recenter, the team when these things start to matriculate. So it's very, very important, that we keep those things in mind. And it's very easy for us to, to fall victim to it. So don't ever think, that just because you're the leader that you're immune, to these things, right?
Yeah,
We, as the
not at all.
influencers, the main influencers in our team, we have to deal with everybody, right? So it really falls on us because, some people only have to deal with maybe one or two people within the team, or, a few people within the team. We have to deal with the entire team. So we can really fall victim to it, if we're not cognizant and we're not intentional about making sure that we are not confusing the adversary and that we are keeping the main thing, as military leaders before us have always said.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's definitely it's a great topic, man. And I think, uh it's one of those things where if we don't talk about it or people aren't aware about it, you can really, I feel like if someone would have said this to me 10 years ago, I'd be able to walk around and see it happening. Be like, oh shit, like
Yeah.
people are just worked up about the wrong thing. That seems crazy. But if you've never heard
Yep.
about it or never like had this conversation or been a part of this conversation, hopefully you're walking this conversation like, wow, like that is happening right now, and now I have some tools to be able to deal with it, or at least to be able to see it when it's happening. And I think, again, here we try to be very transparent. We're giving you stories about us not, being perfect in every situation. And I was at 17 years in the Navy, 18 years in the Navy when I had that epiphany that I was confusing the adversary, right? That was 6-7 years ago that I was like, man, like I'm messing this up for no reason. Like this is not where the energy needs to be. And so think about what really matters. Think about what your pillars are, the things that you stand in, the goal for your organization, the goal for your command, whatever. And if you are getting in situations where that is the thing that you're talking about the most is not moving towards that direction, then you are confusing the adversary and you are focusing on the wrong thing. And so get off the cycle, right? And figure out how to just focus on what really matters. Otherwise, you're just going to continue wasting your time. And then your 8-hour workday is, instead of 8 hours of production and focusing on the right thing and putting your energy in the right stuff, half of it you spend in complaining and gossiping and being frustrated about something that shouldn't be the main topic. Don't allow these things to become the main topic of the story. The main topic is the goal, the objective of the organization, the command, the business that you work at. Keep that the main thing, and you're going to find success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm really interested to hear what our leadership state of mind, listeners are thinking out there. Have you had any instances where you've had to deal with confusing the adversary? You may not have had the language for it, but now because we're talking about it, now you have kind of the language for it and have an understanding now of how to deal with that and how to fight that. Really want to hear your stories out there. Really want to hear what you're going through, and if we can go into further depth on illuminating a specific portion of this that we talked about, we would love to hear for it. So definitely light those comments up. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you're feeling out there, what you're seeing, because we're here to help. We're every single day trying to become the best version of ourselves, and hope that something that we say in this helps you to also become the best version of yourself. Tony, anything else? Anything we missed, brother?
Nah, man, I really appreciate the convo. We're going to be consistent. We're going to kill 2025. Make sure that this podcast continues to grow and get better. Remember, at Leadership State of Mind, rarely does becoming a leader make you a better person, but becoming a better person will always make you a better leader. So we are here to make better brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, moms, dads. So keep following, like, share. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, iTunes. We are here to give you the tools you need to be successful. We appreciate the support, the love. Hope y'all all enjoyed the holidays and are ready to go in 2025 with some attainable goals and some outlandish goals and some audacious goals, and that we make this year the best year so far. So thanks for following, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you soon. Later.
Peace.